Hi, hello, let's talk about Bell Hooks' The Will to Change, Men, Masculinity, and Love. Reading this book felt like being gently confronted in a therapy session you didn't even know you signed up for, but are thankful you went to in the end. This isn't a loud finger pointing critique on men. It's actually something more disarming and compassionate than I first expected going into this book. Hooks examines how the patriarchy kind of molds and scripts manhood and instills it into boys from a young age. Hooks walks us through the fact that from boyhood, boys are taught by their families, their friends, society at large, and the education system how to center their world through their worldview and their emotional lens. Hooks then goes on to suggest that men's first heartbreak isn't romantic, but the moment when they realize that vulnerability isn't accepted. And as someone who has brothers, it kind of makes me realize and reassess emotional conversations that were had in their developmental stages. And a prominent thought that became very clear throughout the book is that the patriarchy doesn't benefit men or women. But in order for us to dismantle the systems of patriarchy and for both men and women to be freed from these structures, is for men to accept and to let go of the power that it has given them over women. From there, the book unfolds like a quiet unraveling. Hooks explores the fact that emotional shutdown in adult men shows up as domination, detachment, anger, and the inability to show love in a nurturing way in a relationship. The book then explores themes such as emotional repression as a learned behavior, the confusion between power and love, fatherhood and male role models, violence and domination, and men's fear for emotional intimacy. What's particularly striking about this book is how Hooks doesn't let women off the hook either. And she examines how we as women can unintentionally reinforce these patterns in men by rewarding traditional masculinity and traditional emotional unavailability, and equating that as a provision of love. And just when you feel like this book is just a social critique, it does something more intimate, and it quietly asks you, what does it feel like to love someone who was taught not to feel? And what does it feel like to demand more anyway? And Hooks answers this question with a radical answer, and that is men must choose to change. I think it's in on this book, and it's a soft-spoken exploration on masculinity that lingers long after you've finished reading this book. This book isn't just about men, it's about the architecture of love.